Yes, we're back. It's episode 40 of the Hibs Ramble. Liam, today your host, joined by Craig. Craig, how does it feel? Episode 40, one episode for every year you've been alive.
Feels good, mate. It feels good. It feels good to be back after a couple of weeks break.
It's been a bit of a hiatus for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, obviously not in a bad way. I was down in Blackpool for the Blackpool Cup last weekend with Alfie, which was good. The hotel we'll not talk about, but the rest of the trip was all right. And what an episode to come back for.
Absolutely. Listen, before we get started onto the weekend's festivities, we actually reached 1,000 Twitter followers on Saturday after the game, and we promised that as soon as we got to 1,000 Twitter followers, we would have a wee giveaway. So we are giving away 2 of these lovely Hibs Ramble mugs with Sean's quote, "I don't like a hard rim. I like my rims to be a little bit softer so I can get in easier," on the back. And they have arrived. Mark was wearing his with pride on Saturday. Hibs Ramble bucket hats. You can't really see the logo that well, but it is on there. So we've got 2 hats and 2 mugs to give away. And all you need to do to get involved is retweet and like our giveaway tweet on our Twitter and follow the page, and you're in with a shout. We're drawing the winners, the 4 winners, on Friday at 5:30. So you'll find out then if you are one of the lucky winners or not. But listen, let's say that, Craig. Oh my God, we finally won a fucking derby at the weekend. How are you feeling?
Me, it was good. It was really good. It felt, being at the game, it felt like it was going to be another one of those games where we huffed and puffed and knocked on the door and nothing was going to come of it. And I know a lot's been made of the sort of crisis that Hearts were in, but I thought it was, in terms of performance-wise, it was one of the better ones we've seen over the years, where it's, I think over the years, they've won the battle and then won the game. Whereas I think you could see very early on that we were set up to go and physically batter them before sort of lending it to the latter stages of the game. And I know we'll get into it in terms of team selection and whatnot, because I think that formed a lot of people's opinions. You know, there was a lot of eye rolling before the teams had even came out to warm up when the team got announced.
Yeah.
But as I think we'll go on to sort of work it out, it turns out that us Football Manager geniuses aren't as actually good as Lee Johnson is.
This is it. So there was 3 changes. Jabriah, Campbell and McCurdy were out, and Hanlon, Stevenson and Doyle Hayes came in. The lineup, I think, seemed to give everyone a wee bit of a shock, maybe a wee bit of anxiety, rightly or wrongly. What did you think of the lineup when it came out? What was your initial thoughts?
Well, what my initial thoughts were, right, and I'll tell you verbatim what my thoughts were, because I seen the team and I put on Twitter, what a midfield. In years gone by, we will all look back on this and say, Modric, Casemiro and Kroos, not a chance. What an absolutely shite team. So that was my immediate thoughts. And I think when you look at that team on paper, it was effectively 9 defensive-minded players and 2 attackers. So immediately it lent to me thinking the way that the lineup was that we were going to be playing a 3-5-2.
I thought the same. Yeah.
Just purely because of CJ and Fish being the centre half pairing at Tannadice the weekend before, I thought it just immediately lent to Hanlon sort of slotting in beside them. And then as soon as obviously the teams came out and they sort of shaped up before kickoff, you seen that it wasn't even a 4-3-3. It was more a 4-1-4-1 with
that's what I thought.
Jago sitting in behind Doyle, Hayes and Newell, with Ewan sort of starting for a wee bit deeper, with Cadden on the other side as well. So my initial thoughts on the team were, fuck's sake, here we go.
Did you think the players that came in, is that the players that we needed to come in after the performance at Tannadice last week?
I mean, given how important he's been to the team throughout the course of the season, I was surprised to see Campbell dropped.
Mm-hmm.
There does seem to be a sort of hokey-cokey in-out type situation with Stevenson and Chebraya. And then with Hanlon, I think if Hanlon's fit, it's a no-brainer that he comes back in. McCurdy, again, by all accounts, had a decent first half up in Dundee. But again, he's not really made a case to sort of keep the jersey for another week. So I think when you look at the players that came in versus the players that went out, the only surprise, I suppose, would have been Campbell dropping out, given that sort of energy he provides in the midfield, but also is, as we've spoken about before, his ability to do those sort of Pat McGinley-esque breaks into the box.
Mm-hmm. I think I kind of echo the sentiments that you gave. I was a wee bit confused. I was very anxious when the team came out. I thought I was like, oh well, it's a third roll of the dice, if you like, for a fourth roll of the dice. Is that the fourth time we played Hearts this season? Fourth roll of the dice for Lee Johnson in terms of team selection and trying to beat Hearts. And I was like, I'm not sure if this is the way that we're going to beat them. But I think from the first whistle, you could see exactly what the game plan was. Newell, Doyle, Hayes, Jago all getting fired in really quickly, and flying into tackles, winning the ball back, kind of setting the tone for the start of the game, I think. And then we eased into it with a little bit of pressure as well on their goal. I thought we probably could have been 1 or 2 up in the first half.
Yeah, well, Sports Scene would have you believe that barely fucking anything happened in the game. It was just one of those. It seemed like it was one of those games where it was for the gate, like the games that I've seen over so many years watching Hearts, is that the ball that would break into the box for them never ever seems to break for us. Like there's the chance where Ewan sort of gambles on, I think it might have been Devlin. He sort of he jumps too soon and catches the ball and it falls to him. And to be fair, folk are saying Clark makes an amazing save. He's not. It's
I don't think Clark knows an awful lot about it.
And he's just sort of hung his leg out, but then the ball falls to Hanlon. But the pace of the ball means he can't get it under control. Whereas, as we've seen so many times against them in the past, that, they get the right break of the ball. It seemed to be them. I think the tone was set really early with CJ absolutely nailing Mackay on the halfway line.
It was a great tackle as well.
It seemed to be, I think everybody was probably, as soon as he done that, was like, fuck, because it was Barry Mackay that was up against him. But the tactics, I mean, that's sort of our side of the ground as well. So we kind of get a decent, like you get the sort of side on view. I get almost not quite a bird's eye view, but looking down onto the game. And it seemed as if the tactic was to just let Mackay have the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Just give him it.
I don't think he was doing an awful lot with it in the first half. Absolutely not.
Well, it was Hearts' only outlet. And there was times where he did kind of get the run at CJ, but by that point, the bodies had got back in such a way that whether it be Doyle Hayes or Cadden coming back or Fish coming across, like there was no real chances for Hearts to get. I mean, they did have a few passages he played, like one touch between Kingsley, Mackay, whatever midfielder came across, but nothing ever came of it. And it's because we flooded those areas. But no, the tackle by CJ definitely did set the tone, and I think it let them know that they were in for, if they were going to go away with anything, that they were going to have to earn it. And I think as the game showed, they didn't fancy it. For that I think for that tackle onwards, the physical side, they weren't up for it at all.
It felt like a right derby, didn't it?
Yeah.
It's the kind of derby that you want to see. I mean, if you're a neutral, obviously we're not neutrals, but if you're a neutral, you want to see flying tackles going in, chances at either end. Although Hearts,
Yep.
I feel, didn't have an awful lot of chances at our end. There's a couple that I'll talk about in a minute. Towards the end of the first half, that I say there were chances. There were maybe half chances at the very best, and that's not me being disrespectful to them a wee bit, but
I think the Halliday header's the only one you can really pick out.
Yeah,
I feel, because again it's funny that if you were to take a look at the stats, if you had no knowledge of what happened during the game and you looked, I'll go on live score or Sky, see what the stats are.
You think that Hearts were on top?
Hearts had all the ball, Hearts had all the chances, Hearts had more. But it's one of those games where when I look at the stats and I look back at what I've seen on the day,
it doesn't match up, does it? Doesn't it?
No, but it's like 66% possession or whatever is fair enough. But you could have 66% possession if you're passing it for your goalie to your centre half, to your right back, to your goalie, to your left back, to your like that, and that's where the whole the stats thing can be really misleading, because, like I said, other than the Halliday header for a corner, I don't remember them having much else beyond that.
There was a chance that I can't remember. It was maybe Mackay coming in from the left and kind of fired it into the box, and Shankland had a couple of touches and kind of lost control of the ball, and it was kind of bouncing about. I think Devlin might have got to it towards the point of it going out for a goal kick, but that in the Halliday chance, I think Shankland had a shot from outside the box similar to Ellie Yuan's one that kind of drifted through towards the goalie in the second half. But no, just going back to how the game felt, a proper derby feel. What reminded me of it made me think of Neil Lennon's Hibs when we came up against the Old Firm and stuff. We stood up to them, we got right in their faces.
Yeah.
And it's, I think maybe you could criticise Lee Johnson previously in the season for having a little bit too much respect for this Hearts team when they don't deserve it one bit. I felt like we had absolutely zero respect for them on Saturday. We stood up to them. We took the game to them from the first whistle, and I think that made them feel really, really uncomfortable because they were getting played at their own game. But yeah, no, you touched on it earlier, Craig. The chances that we missed in the first half, and you did say that you thought it could have been one of those days, but I really felt, I was like, we've had so many great chances. Well, no, they weren't great, were they? They were good chances, half decent chances. But I was like, one of them's got to go in, because you don't get 5 or 6 really, really good chances in a derby. It just doesn't happen. I thought it's going to be one of the days and Hearts will nick it at the end.
I know that's what I felt as well. Like, even when you look at the 3-0 game in the cup, like, that wasn't a 3-0 game.
No.
But it felt like it wasn't going to be that scoreline, because Hearts had absolutely jack shit going forward. But it did lend itself to being one of those games where obviously we didn't have the majority of the ball, but the majority of the better type of chances.
Yeah.
And they were going to break up the park, or they were going to get a set piece or something like that. It
didn't look like when I was watching the game that they had the majority of the ball either.
No, I know, like, that's what I mean. Not to the extent where it's like almost 2/3 of the ball.
Yeah.
Over the piece compared to the third, but I think we did try and hit them on the break quite a few times. They did play quite a high line.
Mm-hmm. And it worked really well, actually. It worked really well. I thought we got in behind them quite a lot and utilised that pace. I think maybe if Martin Boyle was playing, you could maybe say that we could have been maybe another 2 or 3 goals to the good come full time. But at the end of the day,
I know it would have been a lot of sort of like moving players about, but I was surprised that at no point did we stick Ellie up against Kingsley. Because because he was absolutely fucking toilet.
He was poor. He was really poor.
He looked very, very poor, and especially when you look at the periods of play where Nisbet completely bodies that Kai Rolls. If we'd have had Ewan and Nisbet going at them on the left-hand side, then
could have had a field day, really.
Yeah, and that's
I think that Kai Rolls.
probably...
There was a Hearts account on Twitter, Craig. I don't know if you saw it, that was going on about Kai Rolls statistically the best defender on the park on Saturday, and I was thinking where, and it was going however many, I think it was like 6 out of 6 ground duels won, and then someone underneath it posted the videos of him getting ragdolled by Nisbet twice when the ball's on the ground. So
absolutely,
I don't know. I think, to be honest, I don't want to talk about Hearts fans too much, but we've just won a derby. We kind of need to rub it in a wee bit. They are absolutely spewing it.
They hate it, and
it's like their whole thing is we can't get beat to Hibs, and we are their whole mentality is you can't get beat to Hibs, you can't lose to Hibs at Easter Road, this, that, and the next thing. Whereas
I think it's more Hibs can't win.
It defines their season
rather than it does, and I mean that's why. I mean, obviously we don't know the inner workings of a football club, but you could almost bet on it that they've sacked Nielsen
to get a reaction
to win on Saturday. And I think that's what showed in terms of the fact that it was Naismith's first game versus Lee Johnson's 457th or something or whatever it was. You find it as a whole lot different as a player, obviously, than as a manager. It's different when you're in the thick of it, when you're on the side and you can't affect it. And like I said, you could see from minute one that they weren't wanting to get involved with the physical side of it. Even players like Devlin, who's supposedly a wee hard man, he's the fucking one of the worst football. And I'm not just saying this, right? He is genuinely one of the worst football players I've ever seen.
I've said it on the podcast before. I've said he's the worst player in the division.
I've said
on numerous occasions and been laughed at.
I said it to Alfie at the game. I was like, just watch him, right? When he hides, the only time he wants to go and get the ball is when he can just pop it back to a centre half. And when he turns and looks forward, all he does is give it 5 yards to a fullback or 5 yards to another midfielder. He does absolutely nothing. And even when he tries to play the hard man act, as you seen on Saturday, there's a photo.
He gets bodied.
Handling with his hand up at his neck. He's absolutely fucking bogging, and that's what they had on Saturday, was a team full of bogging players. And I think when you look at the goal in particular, their body language. Mm-hmm. There's a clip of the goal that's like the camera for the away end zoomed in, and if you've not noticed it yet, go back and watch it. But Humphreys in particular, just stands.
I think they pointed out on Sports Team, didn't they?
Yeah, he literally just walks and looks and walks about. Whereas I think
he lets his man go as well.
Yeah, I think Hearts had every man back in the box. And when you look at it, we maybe had 6 in the box.
Yeah.
Yet the only one who didn't lose his marker was Ewan.
Mm-hmm.
Every other player got free their marker to the point where, like, before talking about the actual goal, like, Ellie Ewan had no right to win that corner either, because it was an absolutely rotten ball into the box.
It just looked like they really couldn't be arsed at times. I mean, I say at times, I think for the majority of the 90 minutes, but no, he didn't have any right to win that corner. And then I tell you, actually, when Doyle Hayes puts the corner in, I seen it go to the back post. I went, that's a fucking shite ball, right? Hanlon heads it over. I went, great ball.
See, watching it at the time as well, I still can't, obviously I see it on the footage now, but I still can't work out where Nisbet came from. Because he's literally 7 or 8 yards out. with no one within like a 3-yard radius of him.
His movement in the box, I mean, not even just for the goal, but in his general play is outstanding.
Yeah,
I mean, the boy is a natural born finisher. And
I think
you
I said
can see...
No, keep going.
Oh, thanks so much, Craig. I was going to say you can see that now that he's got a lot better support around him, he's making these chances count because he's getting the ball in forward areas. Whereas when I think it was last season, wasn't it? At the start of last season, and he wasn't getting those chances because the supply wasn't there really. Apart from Martin Boyle, the supply was, on the whole, a lot poorer than it is at the moment. And you can tell
his
that
all-round play
slated him.
Yeah, his all-round play since he came back from injury has been unbelievable. And whether he's playing for a move or not, like you can.
It doesn't really matter if you're a Hibs fan.
Cynical because if he's playing for a move, then
he's still scoring goals.
He's doing it while it's in a Hibs jersey, and it's only going to benefit us. I mean, the flip side is that if this is how he's playing, we really didn't want to lose him in the summer. But I think it's pretty obvious that he's going to take his chances and move on with only a year left in his deal, and Hibs will try and get what we can for him. So it's just a case of enjoying him while he's here. But if he's, because he came back from injury, he had that unbelievable run. He got injured again. It's been kind of stop-start over the past couple of weeks with the two Old Firm games, and then obviously last weekend being pretty shit. But he's just, for me, his overall performance, his desire, his intensity on Saturday was something that I don't think to that extent we've seen from him before. And I think I said it in the group chat, like, you can afford, like the Motherwell game when I was like, you can afford maybe one or two players having a 4 or 5 out of 10.
Mm-hmm.
But you need everybody else to be at a 7 or an 8.
Mm-hmm.
On Saturday there, for me, everybody was at a minimum of an 8.
Yeah, agree. I completely agree.
That type of performance, I suppose that's the frustrating thing, is that type of performance we're not going to get every week, because we're not going to be playing a game as intense as that every week in terms of at home, sellout, derby. You know what I mean? All the narratives that feed into it.
Absolutely.
And I mean, if they could provide performances like that every week, they wouldn't.
The players wouldn't be playing for Hibs. No,
exactly. But that just, therein lies the frustration with especially one player, Joe Newell, who I've been very critical in Newell in the past in terms of it doesn't offer enough. And when folk have said, but he's our best midfielder, he is. But having a good game in 4-5 doesn't matter. Having a good game against a rudderless Aberdeen is great.
Yeah.
But in the overall context, it doesn't mean much if you go out next week away to Fir Park. I know we won it Fir Park, I'm just using it as an example. If we go away to Fir Park and you go into your shell.
Yeah.
Whereas on Saturday, like I can honestly, I'll fight anybody that wants to argue that was his best performance in a Hibs jersey by a mile. He was absolutely outstanding.
He did every part of the game well. I think he got stuck in. He made things happen. He played quickly, which we're not particularly used to seeing Joe Newell do.
And he played forward as well. Like the majority of his play was looking to go forward with the ball. He was actively. I've pointed it out a couple of times where in games where if a centre half's got the ball, he'll maybe run towards an opposition midfielder. Yeah. I know that he's hiding, but as to say, no, I didn't want it. Whereas on Saturday, he was fucking give me it.
Yeah,
give me that ball. Give me that ball, and I'll try and make things happen. And there was a few times where he played balls over the top, like the one for Nisbet where he cut in and just put it wide. Mm-hmm. Like the weight on it was absolutely perfect.
He was having one of the games, that he just kind of grew with confidence with every touch of the ball, and you could see it by 60, 70 minutes that he was just trying these absolutely outrageous things, and they were all paying off for him. You know what it's like. Again, it's obviously we didn't play professional football, but when you have one of the games when you're playing,
it's like a game of fives, and you feel like every shot you hit goes in.
Exactly.
It's obviously completely different levels, but when even in
It's
any
a
walk of life,
confidence thing at the end of the
aye,
day. Like
if things are falling in your, like, basically you're walking the path and the fucking paving stones are falling into place exactly as you hit them, the confidence grows, and you definitely seen that from you. Like I said, it's for me anyway, it's by far and away his best performance, and I think as well for somebody else like Jago, who's had a hell of a lot of stick recently. I didn't notice Jago on Saturday, and for me that's a good thing.
Yeah, I thought
Because
Jago did his job really, really well, and I think
he's one of these players that if he's playing well, you didn't notice it weirdly, because he's doing the job that he's meant to do.
He's doing
And
the
he
job
definitely
exactly.
gave a perfect screen in front of the midfield for both Newell and Doyle Hayes, who again I thought Doyle Hayes was outstanding as well.
Yeah, just touching on Jimmy Jago there, I thought he was brilliant, and he was getting flying into tackles, getting stuck right in, doing the dirty work that we needed, and I think a lot of people have given him credit. So obviously people are catching up on our opinions of Jimmy Jago, which is good.
You didn't have to play 40, 50-yard diagonals to be a good player. Like,
this is it.
As we've seen, like I suppose when the team's on a poor run of form, you look to the players who generally don't get involved in the attacking play as much. And Jago's taken a lot of flack for it, and rightly so, because the last couple of games, Motherwell especially, he was absolutely rotten.
Mm-hmm.
But Saturday, again, there's certain games are built for certain players, and Saturday was a perfect game for somebody like Jago to give Newell and Doyle Hayes, as we've said before, with Campbell and Newell and Doyle Hayes and Campbell, when they've played together, Jago's there to give them the freedom to go.
Mm-hmm.
And you've seen it, like Newell had that chance when he hit the volley over the bar in the first half. There was when there was an overhit cross, and Stevenson absolutely fucking nailed it to get on the end of it. And Doyle Hayes was in the 6-yard box.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't happen without Jago being in the side.
Yeah.
So just because he's not on the ball and he's not spraying it left and right doesn't mean he's not having an impact.
This is it. You're absolutely right. I've also got I've got down here the mentions that I've got for players that I thought were phenomenal were Joe Newell, Doyle Hayes, Egan Riley, Jimmy Jago, Kevin Nisbet, and Chrissy Cadden. I think everyone had a really, really good game. I think Stevenson as well was brilliant.
Stevenson and Hanlon were outstanding again.
Yeah, I think you could probably go through the whole team and say, oh, everyone played really, really well.
Nobody had a shite. The only one you could probably argue that didn't have a good game was Marshall, because he had basically nothing to do.
He didn't have anything to do, yeah.
But
he made a really good save in the first half. Aye, that was it.
For someone who's had a lot of stick as well, his distribution of game was superb.
Yeah, it was great, and he was playing quickly as well.
There was a couple of times where I thought he could have released you and Arcaden when they were away, and he kind of he went to and he just sort of backed out at the last minute. But no, even the players that came on had an impact.
Henderson, I think it was did all right when it came on.
It was just one of those performances, like I say, where everybody's an 8 minimum. So, like,
that must have been a very difficult game to come onto as well, especially when like for your Ewan Hendersons and Josh Campbells and stuff. It's difficult enough to get up to speed when you're coming on in the second half, but when you're coming on for a player who's played as well, as Doyle Hayes, to come on and try and replicate that sort of form on the park in such an important game and such an important moment of the game as well must be such a difficult thing to do. But I thought Josh Campbell slotted in perfectly.
Aye, and I think it also leads to the fact that if you're winning, you're coming on confident. You're coming on with that sort of big adrenaline boost as well.
Yeah.
And I think he came on and he absolutely nailed somebody as well. I can't remember who it was. It was one of the fucking non-entities in midfield for them. But it was a header. It was a header, and he just got up.
Oh, he elbowed him in the face, aye.
I'm sure it was a header. I don't think it was an elbow.
Oh, was it?
I actually think that Josh Campbell full on just fucking headered him.
It was that Keel, because his nose was pissing with blood, man.
Aye, and Campbell's just absolutely nailed them. And again, that goes back to, even though we were winning the game at the time, it was still being physical enough.
Yeah.
I will say, I don't think I've ever had a shit my pants moment more.
When Kingsley
When
was
they got
standing
that,
over that free kick.
oh my God, when they got that free kick in the last minute, I
I
genuinely
could not watch. I was watching through my fingers. I was
I
watching through my fingers. It was terrible.
like I said,
And
I
it
don't think
seemed
there's
like
been a
it took
single
ages to
moment,
hit.
at a game where I've thought, like, see what we said about they're going to sneak something. I thought this is going to be fucking typical that they've had nothing
Aye.
and they're going to get a chance like that in the last minute. But again, fair fucks to Hanlon for pulling him down, because Shankland was 1-on-1 if he didn't.
Yeah. Brilliant for Hamlin. And like you said, I was shitting my pants when Kingsley was standing over it. And see even if he did score, right? Even if he did score, his celebration still wouldn't have been as good as Kevin Nisbet's.
Nah, right up to Naismith.
I've
If the rumours,
heard a couple of bits, aye.
yeah, there's a photo of Naismith right beside Nisbet after he missed the penalty in the COVID semi-final, and I think people are putting two and two together with the whole Naismith apparently said that he let his dad down or something. Obviously, the game was a couple of days after Nisbet's dad had passed away. As much as I think Naismith's a wee rat, I wouldn't like to think that somebody would sink as low as that, especially to a fellow professional.
Yeah.
But something obviously,
Something's been said or something's happened.
I don't recall much, like unless somebody else can piece it together in terms of the personnel that was on the Hearts bench, of having a direct impact with Nisbet during his Hibs career, or even prior to his Hibs career. I can only assume it was directed at directed at Naismith. And if it
Which makes
was,
it odd because Naismith's like he's in the Scotland setup as
Scotland,
well.
yeah, I know.
So I
So
don't know.
maybe even something's been said on Scotland duty, but the fact that Nisbet came
Maybe
out
it was
himself,
to Andy Halliday's. He said something on open goal. Or was he on the park? Oh, he was on the park at the time. Yeah.
he was on the pitch at the time.
Could have filled me.
Maybe has it been something during international duty that's been said? The fact that Shanklin got called up the last time before he did. I don't know, but whatever it
Guess
was,
we'll never know.
It was fucking right up him anyway, and
Yeah,
rightly so.
and quite rightly so.
Anybody wearing that shite colour deserves to have
Gorgie
it
rat.
ramped up them. Yep.
Gorgie rat.
I don't know if you've noticed as well, he's completely changed his tone when he speaks now that he's a manager as well.
He was
like before he had that quite Ayrshire nasally accent, whereas now he's kind of tried to change it up to like a West End Glaswegian accent.
Fucking, he's a bam, mate. He's an absolute bam. I've got just a last couple of points on the derby here before we get onto the full time scenes. Across the whole 90 minutes, I don't think I've ever seen a Hearts team look so lacklustre and so unbothered for a derby. Yeah. But I don't know what you put that down to. I know they'd lost previously. Was it 5 on the bounce they'd lost? Mm. And Nielsen had left. I mean, surely, regardless of the form you've been on, I mean, we're a perfect example. We were on pretty poor form as well. We went out there and played our hearts out. I wonder what went wrong for Hearts, if they just weren't up for it. But I've never seen a Hearts team not be up for it for a derby, which is odd to me. I mean, obviously it's good for us because we won, but it's strange to me seeing a Hearts team look so not bothered about playing in a derby.
Especially one that was unbeaten against us this season and had only just beaten us in the cup,
and 2.5 months ago? It was going to be 10 in a row if they avoided defeat.
I think it just goes to show their lack of confidence that they've got.
Yeah.
Like I said, they didn't try and look to make anything happen for themselves. They tried to look to Barry Mackay to make everything happen. Even Shankland didn't seem that interested. That
Shankland was missing for the 90 minutes.
Came on, he seemed up for it. Obviously, he scored at Tynecastle when we lost there. even Sibic, who wanted to act the clown the last time against us, and that Rolls as well. Like I had it in
He's
my head, and I don't know
absolutely
why.
murder, by the way.
I had it in my head, and I don't know why. That I felt that he was quite a physical, imposing centre, and he's an absolute shitebag. He got absolutely, and it's not as it came folk. I seen somebody posting about Hanlon getting ragdolled by Sims. Sims is a fucking monster. Like you seen the size of him, he was a big laddie.
Yeah.
Kevin Nisbet isn't he built like a fucking heavyweight boxer? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's quite a slight,
just a normal guy.
5'10", 5'11" built laddie, and the international centre half was absolutely bodied by him. And I just think, like, again, it goes back to the tackle on Barry Mackay, that they weren't up for it.
Yeah.
That set the tone. The physical battles that would usually go in their favour.
They lost every single battle in the midfield.
Because
every single battle.
And that's just because purely and utterly Hibs wanted it more.
Yeah, and it's something that we've not seen.
For the sidelines, even for the touchline, like I was quite surprised. I've seen a lot of talk on Twitter about the Gorgie Ultras and how they're wanting their own section at Tynecastle and all that. You would have thought that they would have got tickets for the game on Saturday and had a presence there. Because
you just thought, but
like that, even that's
you never had enough loyalty points.
That's one of the quietest away ends I've seen.
Yeah.
Today, Manchester Road. Usually they're quite, even maybe it can typically, I think during the game it kind of like
even
falls away. Yeah, but even for the start, they never. The support didn't seem up for it either, and I think they two kind of go hand in hand. The team can get a lift for what they get for the sidelines, and I think that Block 7 didn't
Block
stop.
7 were tremendous. Didn't stop. And what was different about Saturday? Sorry, Craig. What was different about Saturday was that even folk in the West Stand were singing, and folk in the West Stand never sing.
I do think that Block 7 got a lot of hassle, but they can't force people to join in with them. Do you know what I mean? And I do think that's the issue with them, is that they're in such a shitty part of the ground that even though when they're going, if the next section, because it's like a fucking Mexican wave. If one goes, then the next, then the next, then the next, like dominoes, they all start falling. And hopefully, obviously, we've seen the thing they've put up on Twitter. We've obviously spoken to them, and me and Sean, when the season ticket kind of thing was announced, we had a good discussion about it as well, about potentially moving them, etc. And it's just something, I know I've kind of went off on a tangent a wee bit, but it was something I picked up on Saturday that I've never really thought about before. But when teams are attacking the Dunbar end in the second half, they have their like hardcore support.
Yeah.
Sort of trying to, suck the ball into the net. We don't have that. Yeah,
that's what I've spoken about that previously as well, and I think that would be an ideal place to have them. And I hope, with two fingers crossed, that they'll get their move to the famous.
And it looks as if the trendsetters are coming back as well.
Yeah, no, we've seen that. I don't know how much truth is in that, but if it improves the atmosphere at Easter Road, I'm all for it. Referee blew his whistle. John Beaton blew his whistle. Full time. It was unbelievable scenes. I need to give a shout out to the woman and her daughter who sit in front of me at Easter Road. It used to be a woman, her daughter, and the woman's dad. So like 3 generations, but unfortunately, her dad passed away just before the Rangers game, and she sprinkled his ashes behind the goal that Kevin Nisbet scored in the second half. So when we were all singing "Sunshine and Leaf," she was in floods of tears. But it would have been a special moment for her to know that her dad was there sucking that ball into the back of the net. So if you're listening, it was a really, really nice moment, and all thoughts from us are with you and your family at this time. But
that's quality. That
it It was. I've got goosebumps even just talking about it. But no, it was a superb rendition of Sunshine on Leith, wasn't it? Something that we've not heard. Obviously, we heard it at the Rangers game for Ron Gordon and stuff, but it's different when you've just had a really big win.
Aye. No, it was. And again, the thing about Sunshine on Leith is that it's now, you know what I mean? It wasn't a song that was synonymous with us, especially when I was growing up. Like, I remember after games or during games or before games singing You'll Never Walk Alone. Which is completely alien to me now. And it was only ever since the AEK Athens game that song, I mean, it's only probably in the last decade that it's even been played after big results, especially Derby wins. And I think that song now has taken on a different meaning for a lot of people. Like a lot of Hibs fans who've lost somebody, if they were Hibs fans themselves, 99% will have had Sunshine on Leith played at their funeral.
Yeah.
Obviously, it was played after the cup final. It was played after every win. It was played before so even being played before the Rangers game for Ron. So it'll now take on different. Do you know what I mean? It's got so many different meanings for everybody.
Yeah.
And it was just nice for it to be the first proper time since obviously all the COVID stuff and all that
we've been able to celebrate something and sing.
Yeah. So like the Ron thing was in memory and sort of. What's the word I'm trying to think of? Like to show, like to the Gordon family, like
to show solidarity, basically.
Solidarity. That's exactly the word. Like to show that we're there for you, and you know, whereas Saturday was a release of finally getting a win against them, and it's. I know we are incredibly biased because we are Hibs fans, but to me, like the whole "You'll Never Walk Alone" thing with Celtic and Liverpool kind of gets diluted because it's sung every game.
Yeah.
Every home game they sing it before it, and I know Liverpool tend to start singing it around about the 89th, 90th minute of every game, home away, win, lose or draw. Whereas Sunshine and Leith only comes out for us at big occasions. Typically, I draw the line at being a win over Hearts. Like I don't think it's needed for any other occasion.
Yeah.
Or sorry, a cup win at Hampden. But it really is the one of, if not the most powerful songs that's a football song that has bugger all to do with football.
It's the greatest football anthem of all time.
Yeah, and I mean, as amazing. You see the videos. There was people walking up Arthur's Seat, recording it, could hear it. There's a guy lives in flats behind Easter Road, was recording it. Like you see, so many, like especially after the cup final, when the amount of celebrities that said it was amazing. Ken Alex Ferguson commented that it was one of the best sights he'd ever seen in football. Like no other club really has that. Like I said, You'll Never Walk Alone is synonymous with Celtic and Liverpool, but the impact of it is diluted because it's before every game. It's not after a game. And you see the videos, like even for the touchline, Joe Newell was...
it's all the players singing along that gets me, eh?
Yeah,
and even I was watching them walk around, and Cadden was singing, and Campbell, and...
Yeah, Murray Johnson was singing it as well. And even before the final whistle, CJ runs, like most of the players run on the park. CJ runs across the Hearts dugout.
He ran right across where I was, aye.
Giving it loudly. And that's players who just get it.
Yeah.
And like I said, that...
We've been missing it for so many years, players who get it.
Yeah. But Sunshine on Leith is just such a unique pool as well. It's a unique selling point in its own, being like, if you want to be successful, if you can be successful at this club,
you get that.
This is the feeling that you get. And I can't imagine what it would be like as a player to feel that.
Think about how Nisbet feels. It was him. It was his goal.
That was his moment. He caused that moment, exactly.
I mean, even Lee Johnson spoke about it in his post-match. He spoke about it in his post-match, saying that they'd spoken about wanting to hear Sunshine and Leith at Easter Road.
Yeah.
They'd not heard it yet. They wanted that. And that was even more of an incentive for them to win the game. I know it sounds daft, or the fans will sing a song if you win. You know what I mean? It sounds a bit silly, but then you think about it. I mean, if you're a player, why wouldn't you want to play for that?
Exactly. And again, it just kind of goes to show what can be achieved when players, fans, coaching staff
pull together.
Are all that's every piece of the jigsaw fitting into place. The important thing is now is to not just let that be a win over Hearts.
Yeah, that needs to be a kickstart.
It needs to mean something.
Absolutely.
Especially with the way that the season's unfolded now, to obviously we now effectively have to win. I think we have to win to get into the top 6.
Yeah. Well, that takes us on very nicely to our next section, and I've got down here how good a springboard is Saturday to try and get us to get 3rd or 4th, get those European spots.
Can I just make a comment before we do?
Of course.
The pies at Easter Road are getting fucking worse by the week. Oh, mate.
We've already reviewed one, so I'm not having another review.
I'm not doing a review. I'm just saying that I went through a period of the last steak pie was the worst. So I went for Scotch for a few weeks, and I fancied a steak on Saturday, and it was shite. There was. I'm telling you,
the chicken curry pies is where it's at.
It was absolutely boffin. I had to use my finger as a spoon to eat it because I tried to lift it, and I ended up with the lid in my hand, and the rest of the pie in the tray, and it was stuck. It was literally stuck to the tray. So
I think next season you need to get yourself down to the West Lower, because the pie quality in the West Lower sounds like it's an awful lot better than where you are.
I would rather shit in my hands and clap than sit in the West Lower. Sorry.
Oh, is it because it's near me?
No, just that I'll not lie. It is.
Oh, fair dues, mate. I appreciate your honesty. But no, I was going to ask you, do you think that Saturday's result acts as a good springboard for us to try and grab one of those European spots going forward? I mean, assuming that we get top 6.
It has to be. And I seen something on Twitter yesterday that we've actually got the best record against top 6 teams of the teams that are in the top 6 at the moment. I guess
I didn't care how.
I know. I think the only way to. The disappointing thing is that with the way that the fixtures work out, I believe we would be due 2 at home, 3 away. And the 3 away would be Ibrox, Tynecastle and Pittodrie.
That's right, aye.
So I don't know how. Obviously, it depends on how their fixtures work. That we might get Aberdeen at Easter Road, or I definitely don't think we'll get Hearts at Easter Road. There's a chance we could get Rangers again at Easter Road, because obviously the league's done and dusted anyway. But no, it has to act as a springboard, especially against a team as rudderless as St Johnstone at the minute as well. Mm-hmm. We've already beaten them up there this season, and we need to. It's almost, given the level of performance we got on Saturday, it's even more important that we get a win next week now.
Yeah.
Otherwise, for me, as good as that feeling is at beating Hearts, in the grand scheme of things, it means nothing. Yeah. Yeah,
especially if we get a draw and Livingston win and we fall into the bottom 6. So I think a win definitely is what we need. I mean, there's no need to do it about it. So my other question down here is, I think, do you think that we need to beat every team post split, assuming we finish in the top 6, to have a chance at 3rd? Do you think we need to win every game, or do you think we just need to beat the teams that aren't in the Old Firm and maybe take a point off the 2 of them?
Yeah, we'd need to almost have a flawless post split.
10 points, maybe 10 out of 12.
I think so. The part about it is as well as like how important it is on Saturday, is that Aberdeen have got Rangers. So you'd like to think that the way the fixtures all
if we win, then maybe we go within a little bit more touching distance.
Yeah, so we're what is it? Are we 10 points at the minute?
Seven.
So 7 exactly. So we go with them 4.
If we win, and Dons get
if
beat.
we win, especially Hearts have got Ross County. If they bounce back, Aberdeen's 10-point lead all of a sudden becomes
a 4-point lead.
4-point lead over us, but a 1-point lead over Hearts.
Who does St Mirren have?
Kilmarnock.
So that'll be a tough game as well.
Yeah,
that'll be a tough game for them as well.
But Kilmarnock's away record's honking.
Yeah, that's right. Aye.
Because
I think we're what are we a point now behind St Mirren? Is that right?
I think so. Can double check.
Yeah, but no. Listen, we'll talk about St Johnstone now. They've just sacked Callum Davidson yesterday. Yesterday at half-time in the Celtic game, I was listening to the radio. Found out that Callum Davidson's been given his jotters. I mean, whatever you think of his time at St Johnstone, maybe he's ran out of credit for the cup double. I mean, they nearly got relegated last year, and they've been pretty poor this year. So it's been a little bit of a miracle that he's stayed this long.
I mean, you've seen it, all the pundits rounding on one of their pals and being like, "Oh, it's a shocking decision, Kenny won." Like, they won the cup 3 years ago almost?
3 years ago, yeah.
2 years ago. Like, they've been... I mean, he's achieved something that we'll probably never see in Scottish football again. Like, let's be brutally honest. Like, it was an unbelievable achievement. But they've been honking since.
Yeah, they have been terrible.
Like, even league-wise for years, they've been brutally shite. I think it's
if I remember correctly, I don't think they were that great in the league the season that they won the double either.
No, they were. I think they finished. I think they finished in the top 6. But like they seem to be one of these teams that still always manage to survive, but they'll never seem to score like 15 goals a season.
Yeah.
Like, they just don't seem to score goals.
And most of them are against us at Easter Road in the last minute. After being 2-0 down.
So I think what I think I didn't get is they've sacked him, but they've put his assistant in charge.
Do you think this will have a more of a new manager bounce? I know that his assistant's in charge, and at point of recording we don't know if there's going to be if it's his assistant that's taken over to the end of the season, or if there's going to be another manager coming in. Do you think that they'll get the new manager bounce that Hearts didn't?
Nah, they'll... When you're in such a rut, it's hard, especially now we get, like, Aberdeen almost done it at the perfect time, whereas they've done it that it wasn't too late before this crunch part of the season came in. Whereas they've done it in a position where they're almost safe, so they've not really got a lot to play for. Because you would think that when the split happens that
they can't get
Ross County
no.
But the other teams, Dundee United, Kilmarnock, Ross County, they'll all take points off each other to the point where St Johnstone are pretty much safe. So they've not really got a lot to play for, and you would think that if it's the assistant manager that's getting the job, most of the ideas will still be the same.
Yeah.
The voice won't really have changed that much. So, no, again, it's all about what can we do, and we're a far better side than St Johnstone are.
Yeah.
And we need to take every single piece of momentum, because a win's important, but a convincing win really puts a marker down for Hearts and Aberdeen. 6. Because I don't think we'll get third, but at the same time, third's not completely out of reach.
I think we've seen this season that if you can put a couple of results together and other teams slip up, you can completely change the outlook of your season. Completely.
Well, it would just take...
It happened to us, it's happened to Aberdeen.
Post-split, all it would take is for our last 2 games of the season to be Celtic and Rangers, and we have a run at Hearts, Aberdeen and St Mirren to get 9 points. And in between those games, Celtic will have Aberdeen, Hearts will have Rangers, St Mirren have got a couple of good results against them this season as well. So, no, you never know. I do think it's unlikely.
I think it's wishful thinking to think that we'll get third, but it's definitely not out with the realms of possibility for me. Not out with the realms of possibility. It doesn't mean that it's probable. Possible, yes. Probable, maybe not. But
Definitely not.
you know, the only thing that we can do is win our fixtures and not worry about anyone else. We need to make sure that we're doing our job. Because if we do our job right, then obviously we'll go up the table. Back to the weekend though, would you make any changes from the starting lineup that started against Hearts?
I'd be hesitant to.
Mm-hmm.
Only
even
because,
going with the same kind of defensive lineup, defensive formation against a team
I think
that.
so. Only because I don't think anybody deserves to be dropped.
Fair play.
I suppose you could make a case for maybe Campbell to come back in, but does taking Jago or Doyle Hayes out for Campbell negate what Newell or Doyle Hayes done on Saturday? Do you know what I mean? That's
yeah. No, you're right.
I would just stick with it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe Miko. He's one that you could probably make a case to bring in, but again, it's for who? Because it's not going to be Nisbet. It's not going to be Ewan. Then you're just moving players about for the sake of fitting one in.
Yeah, you can't do that.
I would like to see us go with the same, and then it gives us plenty of options on the bench to change it if we need to.
Craig, I'm going to push you for a prediction here.
3-0.
3-0 Hibs.
3-0 Hibs. You know I don't like doing. You know I don't like doing predictions a week early.
I don't care. I'm the host this week. Right, you're saying 3-0 then?
3-0 Nisbet times 2 and Big Fish.
Big Willie Fish.
Big Philly Wish.
I'll take it. Ken what? I'll go also a big win. I'll go, and I'm going out on a limb here. 6-0. 6-0. Harry McCurdy will come off the bench and score twice. Paul
I'm
Hanlon.
not going to lie, right? I was gagging for him to get on Saturday and score the winner. Oh my God.
Mate, see, every time he ran to try and get warmed up, I was looking up at you.
I know.
I was looking up at you trying to get the.
I was looking at you trying to get.
No, right, I'm going to go 6-0. Harry McCurdy will come off the bench and get 2. Paul Hanlon will get 1. That's 3. Nisbet will get 1. Joe Newell will get 1. And Will Fish will get 1.
Fair.
I'll take it. 6-0. I'll be happy with 6. Right. Let's move on to our favourite part, Craig, and that is the Ramblers listener questions.
Now it's time to answer the Hibs Ramble listener questions.
Okay,
Pew,
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 off.
pew, pew, pew.
That's it. I don't think I'm going to need to put the noise in. I think you've done it superbly there. Pew pew
pew pew. The
right,
Hibs
we'll start
Ramble.
off. John is asking, what's for dinner, and how good does it feel beating those animals?
For me, dinner tonight is the Bachelor's packet chicken and mushroom pasta.
Oh, I like that.
Which is fucking sensational, especially with a bit of butter bread. Oh,
I do like that pasta.
And on a scale of 1 to 10, beating those animals is extremely, extremely horny.
Yeah, very horny. I've got to agree. In the fridge for me tonight is lamb Rogan Josh from Asda.
Nice.
A microwave lamb Rogan Josh, but I'm not too sure if I'm going to actually have it because I've just taken half my tooth out with a party ring not 2 hours ago. So I'm not too sure how my mouth is going to deal with hot food. So it might be ham sandwich for dinner, but we'll wait and see. Haley asks, can anyone explain how Shankland escaped a booking after fouling Marshall? It was right in front of me and I can't figure it out. Now,
I thought that was hilarious.
I don't think I remember this incident.
Marshall went to, I think it was maybe a cross or something. Marshall's caught it. He's went to go and throw it. And Shankland's just literally rugby tackled him from behind.
Was it in the first half?
Like first half, like he's literally put hands around him and hauled him to the deck.
I don't think I remember that.
Yeah, I thought it was very strange he never got booked either. And then there was that other period for Beaton as well where we were on the counter and he pulled it back for a booking.
Mm-hmm.
Yet when it happened to Hearts later on, he let play go. I thought the rule was that you let play go and you give the booking when
play
breaks down. Aye.
Disco 76 has said, is it time to give Dabrowski some real game time next season with a view to being our number one? And for me, no.
Because he's left.
Yeah.
So he's, for those who don't know, he joined Queen of the South on loan, and Hibs announced that he would not be getting a new contract, and his contract ends in the summer.
All right, so it's like a Jamie Murphy situation.
Yeah.
Fair dues. Ewan has said, Hearts shite, Hibs class.
Agree.
With a Nigeria flag and an Ireland flag.
Light retweet.
Owen Ingalls, how fucking good was Jake Doyle-Hayes today? Powerhouse in midfield, felt like no Hearts player could get close to him and he could squirm himself out of any situation. But at the same time, Doyle-Hayes seems to only be a big game player. If he played like that every week, we would win the league.
Exactly. That's the thing. If these players could perform at that level of intensity every week,
they wouldn't be at Hibs.
So,
but we probably would win the league if they were at Hibs.
Yeah. But no, Doyle-Hayes was outstanding.
He was wonderful. He was absolutely wonderful. Disco again has asked, why couldn't we do this against United in Motherwell? I think for the reasons that you outlined earlier on, it's a completely different type of game. It's a different kind of intensity. I think it's a lot more difficult. It shouldn't be, but it's a lot more difficult for the players to get more up for a game against Motherwell or United than a Hearts. It must be, the team talk must do itself when you're in the dressing room before.
It's the same as the support as well, though. Like when the fixtures come out at the start of the season, you look, where's the derbies? I didn't look, fuck, when we play Motherwell. And I can imagine it's the same for players as well.
No, you're absolutely right. Gav Dick, how good was Newell today? Honestly outstanding. And thoughts on Cadden's performance? Personally, I thought he was good along with the rest of the team. And I'm going to dig Gav out here because he didn't say personally I thought he was good. He said I personally thought we was good along with the rest of the team.
I'm sure he does it deliberately at this stage.
Deliberately?
Right. See, he's in my head. Went 3.
Newell, again, brilliant. Cadden, I touched on him earlier on. I think he was really good as well.
Yeah.
Billy is asking, after we all had a wee meltdown at the lineup, only for them to get spot on, should we have more faith and trust in the management team and players?
No.
I think yeah, because I mean, there's no
because they've ballsed it up too many times this season.
Oh, cheer up, Craig.
However, LJ is a big fan of the Ramble, so I can confirm I will let him do his job.
Yeah. Well, thank God for that.
And stop being
just because. You take that Hibs tracksuit off then. Stop pretending that you're going to be on the sidelines.
Just because I have won the Champions League on FM with an unfancied French side does not make me a professional football manager. So I will keep my opinions to myself.
Yeah. Thank God for that.
Until we get beat.
This is a first of a trilogy of questions from Callum Laidlaw.
I wouldn't answer them.
He says, do we go with the same starting lineup on Saturday or adjust based on the opponent? You touched on it. I think maybe it's safer to go with the same lineup. He then asks, just what exactly does Gorgie rule at? Being quiet in derbies?
I find this hard because I was technically brought up in Gorgie. So
what does it rule at though?
Well, a lot of folk think it stinks because of the brewery, but I really like the smell for the brewery.
Yeah, I like the smell of that as well.
It rules at having a shite stadium.
Mm-hmm.
It rules at having decent chippies, to be fair. Gorgie
yeah,
fish
but
bars
chippies up my way are better though.
Gorgie fish bars are a good chippy. It rules at... I don't know, just having... It rules at actually being alright, apart from having an utterly shite football team.
It's a bit of a minging place, so...
Like,
I'm leaving just being a Hibs bastard, like it. It's a bit... like Stratis' rank.
See, for me, it's childhood memories, though.
Oh, Fuck your childhood memories. Not
Thanks,
being
mate.
funny, but fuck them.
Yeah.
And Cal's last question is Cammy Devlin just the Australian Ian Black? I don't think I would insult Ian Black like that.
Yeah, Cammy Devlin's just... We've already said that he's one of the worst football players I've ever seen. He's absolutely shite. The thing about Ian Black...
Messi's top, though.
Ian Black... we never played a minute. It was a pity. It was a pity gift. Mate, do you think Messi's went, oh, I'm going to give Cameron Devlin my dub? No.
What part of Argentina is he from? Venice?
I don't know. Well, South Americans know the greatest. I don't speak Argentinian that well.
I'm not even biting there, Craig, I'm afraid.
But no, he's a harsh dog.
He is. Keith asks, could scoring a Derby winner do wonders for Nisbet's confidence going forward? And then he says, pity St Johnstone lost, as them winning would have secured his top 6. Makes next week a little nervy. He says, Lee Johnson may not have picked the ideal lineup, but he made his subs well, particularly Campbell and Mick.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
Our good pal Lorenzo has said, Neil yesterday has been outstanding. He's 30 years old now. Would you give him the possibility to sign a renewal? Personally, yes. He could easily play for another couple of years with this intensity.
A renewal? I like that.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think Joe Newell is one of the players that has come up and he gets Hibs, he loves Hibs. And I wouldn't be surprised if he ends his career at Hibs.
Yeah. But he needs to do Saturday more often.
Yeah.
Or not even be at that level, but trying to get close to that level more consistently.
For sure. We've got James Kinneborough who says, who is it who hasn't scored against Hearts again with this picture? Look at that fucking forehead, man.
Yeah, there's one of Andy Halliday as well looking quite perplexed in the background
brutal, too. David is asking, when will Joe Newell be mentioned in the world's greatest midfielders?
See, this is where the overreaction comes into it. Like I said, it was unreal, and we can acknowledge that it was unreal. But again, it means nothing if it doesn't become. That's the benchmark moving forward. Yeah.
How come there was no? This is Lewis Connor, by the way. He says, how come there was no Hibs players in the Sky Sports team of the weekend? It's shocking, and at least a few of the players should have been included. For me, Newell, JDH, or Nisbet at least.
I think
Chris Boyd put a couple in his team of the weekend.
Yeah, Nisbet, Hanlon, and Stevenson, I think. But that means jack shit.
Yeah. We've got one more here, and it is from Harvey Scott, and he says, do you think the result today could give the players some newfound confidence in the last stretch of the season? I certainly hope so. I think it's the type of result that can kickstart a run of better results. Time will tell.
Yeah. Ideally as well, we'd want them first game after the split, I think.
Yeah.
To
cement that,
Yeah, exactly.
Ewan Sterling asks, honestly, where do you think we finish now? I think I'm going to just say 4th.
Yeah.
I'd be happy with 4th.
Yeah,
gets us European football.
Yeah, especially after that absolutely horrendous period we went through. To still finish 4th would be a good achievement, I reckon. Yeah.
And we've got a couple of questions over on Instagram as well. If you don't already follow us over there, follow us we are just at the Hibs Ramble. You can submit your questions to there for our weekly pod as well. Hibs Page 1875 has asked, how is Joe Newell not in the England squad yet?
Because I don't think there's any internationals for a while.
Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if Southgate calls him up, to be honest. He's been brilliant.
Yeah.
And finally, a couple of questions from Callum McDonald, and he's asking, can we make top 4? I think, we can. And he has asked, who should we sign and sell? I think that's a topic for another podcast.
I think that's an end of season pod, that one.
Yeah, we could go really in depth with that one, I think, Callum. Yeah. So we'll curb that one for now, and we'll revisit it a wee bit later on. And his final question, and the final question of the podcast, is what development player should get a run in the first team? I'd like to see Laidlaw in. Laidlaw and Murray Aitken, for me, is the two.
Depending on contractual status, it would be Laidlaw for me as well. Like if you've not listened to it, we spoke to both Ethan and Josh O'Connor a few months back. I think it was just before. Was it before the Nantes game, or was it after the Nantes game?
It was after the Nantes game. It was before the Dortmund game, I think.
Aye, but there was a big gap, wasn't there? Because we were. So we spoke to Josh and Ethan a few months ago. Two really level-headed boys, who were actually, for something they've probably not done before, they actually really showed a great maturity when they spoke to us. And I think it would be Ethan for me, just because of what it's done for the under 18s. Everybody else, Josh has had a crack, Oscar McIntyre's had a couple of games, Murray Aitken's played, Jacob Blaney's played. So for me it would be Ethan Laidlaw. However, Malik Zaid is very highly rated as well.
And Kanayo Megwa, I'd like to see him.
And Megwa as well, yeah.
Just any of them, really. Take any of them. Yeah. And that's concluded us. That's wrapped us up for the week. It's been an enjoyable podcast.
It has.
Hasn't it? And thanks to everyone who's got involved with submitting questions and stuff. Again, we've had an awful lot of questions in this week. We really, really appreciate everyone getting involved and interacting with us. So hopefully we've answered your questions well, and you've been satisfied with your answers. But
1,000 followers as well for me and Liam, especially because we kind of done this for the start. To get to the level of where we've got and the level of interaction that we get every week, especially when there's other great Hibs podcasts out there that kind of I think we all offer something a wee bit different, and the fact that we get the level of interaction that we do, basically being the newbies on the block, is really appreciated by both myself and Liam, and I know that Sean and Mark feel the same as well.
Absolutely. And if you want to interact with us a wee bit more, like I said at the start, we've got our giveaway, we've got our mug, two of these to give away, and we've got two of these lovely bucket hats to give away. And to get involved, all you need to do is head over to our Twitter, and we've got a tweet up. All you need to do is like it, retweet it, and follow at the Hibs Ramble on Twitter, and you'll be in with a chance of winning either a hat or a mug. So all that's left to do now is say goodbye. What are you off to do now? What are you going to do with the rest of your evening, Craig?
I'm going to go and eat my tea because I'm absolutely starving.
Lovely stuff. Right, that's us then. That's us. Thanks again for listening if you've got this far, and we will catch you after the St Johnstone game to talk about how our games against Livingston, Ross County and Dundee United are going to be in the bottom six.
Right.
Right, see you later.